Hey, what's going on, everybody? So we're going to go over a chart discovery model over here, and we're going to make sure that the examples that are going to be used are going to be geared towards what I do right now. So just substitute those for whatever it is you specifically do. I do a lot of sales and marketing, and basically it's going to be geared towards what our clientele market would typically see. So those examples, just kind of substitute it in. If you have any questions about that as we go, let me know. I can help you with that if you're not understanding the process of how you would substitute whatever it is you do, whether it's in like some sort of financial industry or you're in some sort of web development, UI, UX, when it comes to software, anything of that nature, something like that. So we can actually help with that whole process. Just give us a heads up. But keep in mind, these examples are not set in stone on you have to do these. These are concepts. Sales is not streamlined to where you're doing exactly the same thing every time. You're going to pivot. You're gonna have audibles just like in football or any other sport out there when you have to change. There's never a consistent straight through pattern of here's how it's going to go every time. So just keep that in mind. Now starting from the top, introduction, I'm gonna actually walk through, before we even hit that actually, let me give you an overview headline. So here are some examples of what's going on. Now everything's just step by step, stepping down, and these are more opportunities that occur typically in our industry when you have certain questions diving into. So that's what's ended up happening there. And then you're going to come through deeper digging analysis where you're going to assess even further on what they're really going through. And then from there, basically you're going to reframe and then do the treatment option. So everything's coordinated here. You have your actual complaint. You have the history, which is in blue. You have the actual assessment, which is going to be in green. And then you also have the basically the reframe, which is going to be this weird color, and then you have yellow for the treatment. So um, once you come here for us specifically, the people we're talking to, they typically fall into three primary problems. You might have more, you might have less, just really depends. So and you think about it from a real deep perspective. Don't try to get too technical on the problem itself in regards to like, oh, we have 100 different kinds of problems. Like, let me use fitness as an example. So somebody's trying to have weight loss as their solution, or not solution, yeah, well, they're trying to lose weight potentially as a solution to becoming healthier, right? So, okay, so let's look at that. So you're trying to lose weight. The problem is you weigh too much. Let's look deeper into that for people who serve that industry. So the problem for this, it depends what that fitness pro is an expert at. Are they an expert in medical weight loss? Are they an expert in just general health? You know, so you're going to think about these things. Let's say you're in medical, because that's when you can dive a bunch different rabbit holes. Because medical can also incorporate general weight loss in general as a whole. And so look into it. Why can't they lose any weight? Is it because they have diabetic complications going on? Is that the main issue? Is their blood sugar's out of control? They're eating inappropriately, and so the problem might not be that they can't, that they can't get to the gym. Maybe they can, but they're just not implementing the right diet. The other problem might be for general weight loss. Let's say they are going to the gym, they are doing the right diet, but the other end of the spectrum, that nothing's happening. Maybe they're doing a certain kind of diet that just doesn't work for them. Everybody's body is different. That could be as another kind of problem. Overall, a good example would be, so for us, we have the three categories. Either your systems are bad, your lead generation is bad, or you don't have the headcount to help you out because you have the systems, you have the lead generation, but you don't have the headcount to follow up and make everything go through on that. And so those are our core problems that we typically solve. So when it comes to that aspect, you want to make sure in weight loss or any other industry, you subcategorize, okay, cool, let's dig even further. So what is really that root problem that's causing this, if that makes sense? So anyways, that's what we do here. So I'm going to go ahead and walk through this as an example on how everything looks. And so it's essentially pretty streamlined. But again, even streamlined approaches, nothing goes 100% all the way through like that. It's not going to always be predictable in that sort of sense. So make sure you understand that, you know how to pivot. So introduction, this is where you start everything off. Just simple. What made you up on the call today? Simple as that. Walk me through how we can help. That's when you're going to figure out exactly everything that's going on with them more specifically and seeing why they're actually wanting to talk with you. And then from there, you should discover the main problem. That main problem is going to be identified as any of these three, or for you more, whichever the case may be, and you're going to dive deep into that. Okay? So from there, we'll just go to the example. There's appointment volume. That's a problem. There's the quality volume of lead generation. That's also a problem. And then there's follow-up issue, which is going to be the manpower. So that's one of the other problems. Now, They could have all three of those problems, but there's always going to be a stem root. Okay, so if they're having a lead gen problem, they're probably not going to have really too much of a follow-up issue just yet, but down the road they potentially could. So we're not going to worry about that. That's why one problem really sticks out more. Volume issue, then they may potentially also have a lead volume issue, if that makes sense. Now, if they have a follow-up issue, that means they can have an appointment issue as well as a lead gen issue. So it kind of trickles down, if that makes any sense. But anyway, so we're going to figure out what's that primary problem and dive into that. Okay, cool. So during the complaint phase, during the where you're capturing the complaint and history up here, you're going to figure out what they're doing, what's going on in their issue with their business, how long have they been in business, is it just them? Do they have partners? Do they have other team members? Do they have sales teams? If it's a consumer, what is their day-to-day life like? What are they trying to accomplish? Why do they want to accomplish these things that they're looking at accomplishing? That's what all that's going to be in the history. It's just a high-level view of basically what you're going to dig deep for in the actual assessment. So you coming into here, we find out the problem, right? Chief complaint history, main problem. All right, cool. Now let's dig deep into that. This is one of the big things that you also want to do in the very beginning. These little oval-looking things are going to, when you're going to calls, you want to find out what the problem is, make sure there's a budget that they have, and that they actually want a strategy to resolve it. And then you want to make sure there's a need, another little oval. Down the road, you want to make sure there's urgency. You want to make sure the decision makers are on the point. As much as people be like, oh, because I've heard people talk about this all the time. Oh, those are old school, the whole band and whatever crap, those are old school. You don't need to worry about that. It's like, no, you do need to worry about it, because if they don't have a budget, you can't make them freaking grow money on trees. So make sure you always have this built into your actual strategy of trying to figure out in your sales pitch or your discovery call how to figure out if they actually qualify for all of that. So I'm going to walk you through how we incorporate that in everything we do here. So the problem, we figured that out, budget and strategy. You're going to come in here and just from a super high level view, you're going to walk them through what you potentially do as a solution from what you found out in that history of what their problem is. Again, you're not diving deep yet. You're maybe 10, 15-second little pitch on what you do. And here's pretty much the verbiage that we use almost with the whole process. Again, it's not scripted. Don't try to go and script it out, but know exactly how you're going to say stuff. So that way you can actually add realistic human interaction. Because if you just try to talk on a script, you're going to sound like a robot. But basically, here's what we say. It's like, hey, so now I need to know a bit more of information to know exactly where it is we can help, but just to kind of give you a high-level view of what we do. And basically, we just build client acquisition systems that consistently produce about anywhere from 2 to 6 qualified appointments per day for our clients using Facebook and Instagram ad strategies. Now, typically for clients coming on board, we usually see about $3K per month that we recommend as a minimum ad spend. So obviously I'm going to dive deeper into that, but seeing if this all makes sense theoretically to you, is this something that you can comfortably do, or does this start taking food off the table? Something like that. And Lucid obviously does not correct words because I have very bad typing apparently. So there's a lot of typos in here, forgive me. But that's along the lines of what you want to do. And get that high level view. I'm qualifying from budget right now. And I did it in a very soft way that's not aggressive. Like, can you afford this? It's like, here's what we recommend, here's why, if that makes sense. So already eliminating that. And then guess what? At the end of the conversation, if you're starting to pitch them on your services, that you've already gone through the pitch, you've already gone through discovery, and you have not eliminated budget, you just wasted like 30, 40 minutes. And that conversation, when you're asking them for their credit card, like, oh, I can't afford it. Like, dude, you could have solved this at the very beginning. Super easy. And with a soft approach like that, it allows them to open up. Everything carries off each other. The way you open up your call, the way you approach your history on gathering their information, the way you approach the budget question. Because if you just straight up come out and say, hey, I need to know if you can afford this because we do recommend about 3K in ad spend per month. Can you do that? If you just go up like that, they just got on the call. Not usually a good idea. The way this soft touches their feeling of trusting you really ends up hitting home fairly quickly. So they're actually usually going to open up very easily with this process right there. So make sure you incorporate that. Now, next thing you want to do, obviously, you're going to find that out. Assessment. The blue is going to be surface level right here of assessment. And then down here, we get deeper on the assessment level in there. So it starts trickling down. So now, I think I told you green was reframe or something. But anyway, so green is actually the deep level assessment on this specific chart. But anyway, so surface level means you barely touch the surface. Like, hey, so What are you currently doing for your lead generation? Right? The topic is they're having lead generation quality issues, right? Or lead generation issues in general. So, okay, cool. So what are you currently doing? Surface level question. Okay, and so, and these are two different ways just to ask the question. What prospecting methods are you using? What are you currently doing for lead generation? What sort of results are you getting from those efforts? What are they seeing from that? Okay, cool. No big deal. What specifically are you wanting to improve in regards to the quality? Like you told me the quality was bad, right? So is it they don't show up, they don't book, like what's going on? Because again, we're trying to, the reason why I know showing up is an appointment setting question, but you got to think from the prospect's point of view, especially in our field, some people don't know the definitions. So you want to make sure their definitions are in line with your definitions. Get them to clarify. You're going to find out when you do things like this. And they'll tell you, oh, they don't show up. Like, okay, so wait. Um, so you have a lot of appointments coming through. Is that correct? Or is it something like, is it more you don't have enough volume to produce appointments? You know, kind of dig into that. All right. So you see what I'm trying to figure out there. Like, if they tell me something like they don't show up, I'm going to be a little confused, literally, because it's going to transition either from a lead gen issue to an appointment setting issue, or maybe it's a little bit of both still, or maybe it's just straight up lead gen. He's just not knowing what they're talking about, you know, which happens. That's not in a demeaning way. Sometimes they don't know what they're talking about. So they just watched a few YouTube videos. They're doing the best they can. They're not experts on what you do, so you can't expect them to know everything that you know. All right. So make sure you clarify. This is when you kind of separate that whole differential. And you find out it's a low volume or low quality as an example for lead generation quality. Okay, cool. So you're having a low volume issue. The ones that do show up though, or the ones that do end up coming through, you also find that they're low quality. It can be both. It's not one or the other. It can definitely be both. So, all right. And now, so how long has this been going on for you exactly? Oh, it's been going on for months, man. I've been trying to figure out this forever. Okay, cool. Look, man. And this is when you start diving deep. So it's been going on for like 6 months, right? So what exactly have you tried to fix this issue? And this is going to be a portion where you're going to find out if they actually have a need, and then who else they're even looking at. Because if there's a strong need, chances are you're not the only person they're looking at. Okay, cool. So you tried doing a lot of things yourself. Is there anything else you're currently trying, man? Are you looking at other potential solutions? Are you looking to try something else yourself? Like, walk me through that if you don't mind. And they're going to expose exactly, yeah, I'm talking to a few other people, have a few meetings scheduled this week, blah, 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 which is good to find out this information because you don't want to be the first or the middle person that pitches them and drops their price if they're talking to other people. You want to be the last person that pitches them and drops their price because you have that chance for a potential one-call close. In their mind, there's always going to be, what's that other person got to say? What's that other person going to do? What's that other person, especially if they're highly interested, highly interested in what you do, then at the end it gives you that extra leverage. If they're highly interested in what you do and you're the first person to talk about them or talk to them, they're still going to want to know about those other companies, even though they've been more interested in yours for the longest time. They're going to be like, okay, cool, this might be cool. Man, if I think these guys are good, and then I just saw this one that really impressed me, these guys might be even better. And then they'll go along the process. And just from the concept and just from the psychological view of them thinking these guys might be better, on that call, they're going to think these guys are better. Unless that other company slaughters the whole process, then, whatever. But so that's why you want to find this information out. Give you that leverage. Like, okay, cool. Let's say somebody does say, yeah, I'm talking to a few competitors. I have 3 more meetings this week. My last one's on Thursday, and they'll tell you. All you have to do is ask. They'll tell you straight up. And so I'm going to talk to somebody on Thursday. 2 o'clock's my last appointment. Okay, cool. So how about this? 2 o'clock's your last appointment. Why don't we do this? We've already gone through, and at this point you've got this information, right? And you've gone through the rest of your discovery. You don't cut your discovery off just because of that. Go through the rest of your process, but at the end of the discovery, go, okay, cool, man. So look, I'll tell you what, we actually do customized solutions here. So let me get with my team. I'm going to go back, and I've got your information. I have what you're going through. I'm going to put up a customized plan for you together, and let's revisit this conversation. You said your last meeting was at 2 o'clock on Thursday, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Look, so do you have any time towards that afternoon then? Maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the Eastern? Is that good? Oh yeah, I got some time. 4 o'clock. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna walk with you through a step-by-step plan that we actually have and we'll customize for you. Find out exactly how we can solve the solution. Because man, this is 100% something that can actually help you out. So let me get with the team. We have media buyers on board, funnel builders, copywriters, everybody like that does their own specialty. Dude, we're gonna rock this out of the park, man. So let's go and put this on the board for you, and then just walk through booking that. You didn't pitch them yet. You didn't go through the whole process of dropping the price. Now they know everything because you have no more cards if you do all that. is going to really help you get that leverage and be that last person. They already have all the information they want. They're good. They've talked to those other competitors, if they're even competitors. There's nothing else they need to know. They've got a good, solid idea of what sucks or what's good and what they feel like can actually help. So find that information out of here. This is why digging deep is so important. So anyway, so you find out if there's a need, you find out if they're looking out for potential other solutions. Now, next question, how is this problem affecting other parts of your business? How is this problem affecting your personal life? How is this problem affecting your sales team? What's going on exactly? Like, good example, I talked to another guy the other day who came on board, and he was going through issues, the fact that he had 10 people on his sales team. And within the past, I think it was like the past 2 months or something, he dropped down to 4. And those 10 people he had were top notch. Like, they weren't just mediocre salespeople. He had been running this whole, he had been running his business for a while, for years, and had those guys the entire time, and finally started losing them because he couldn't produce enough to fill their appointments or fill their calendar slots. Dropped down to 4, and he still can't fill the 4. So he has a huge issue. He's now worried about going into the founder seller role, which is not a good position most founders want to be in. They typically want to be out of the sales process and more involved in the actual process of delivering. So that's not a position he wanted to be in. That's how it's affecting his business. How's this affecting his team? It's causing him to leave. What's that doing long run? It's making him have to jump in there. If he has to jump into the sales process, guess what that does? Takes up his time. Takes his time from being able to deploy to the whole fact he can work on the business rather than in the business. Now he's getting shoved into the business, and he does not want to be there. So that's a good example of why you want to dig deep. How is this affected? How is this little cluster, this one single issue, branching out into other things and causing bigger issues? Dig into that. Urgency. So you really want to figure out if there's actual urgency, because if the person doesn't, if they're comfortable, chances of them moving forward is very slim to none. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It does. I've moved people forward plenty of time when they didn't have urgency, but they were not the best clients. They didn't feel the need to do stuff. They didn't feel the need to take action. They didn't feel the need to complete the stuff we needed them to complete. So urgency is very, very important, especially if you want to get a testimonial. If you have results and KPIs you want to maintain as an actual successful completion rate for your clients, then this is crucial to have. So why exactly you want to fix this now? And I've had people say, well, it's not really a huge issue for me. I'm comfortable. I just figured to see what we can do to make things better. I'm comfortable. My guys, they're doing well, but we have a slower month between like October and November, so we'd like to see maybe 1 or 2 extra demos during those time frame. A little conversation I've had with somebody. And I was like, dude, I don't think it's going to be right for you. I mean, we do way more than just 1 or 2 extra demos. I mean, if you're looking for that, why don't you just try boosting up your ad spend a couple $100 extra bucks, maybe $1,000 if you want to, depending on, what your volume is right now. And, walk them through stuff like that. And that's where the consulting process comes through. Don't sell, just because you can sell somebody doesn't mean you should. All right. And I know it's going to be terrible for a lot of you sales reps out there that are like, oh, but I want the commission. It's great. If you're a good closer, you'll get the commission elsewhere. Don't sell to people who don't need to be sold to. Straight up, just turn them away. People who don't have urgency, don't sell to them unless they absolutely want to just try it and they're cool with that and they're gonna give it their all. But you have to have that commitment from them verbally. You're like, hey man, look, normally we don't push people through that. This is normally for hungry people. We want people who are driven. Are you going to give it your all if you come through on this? Because you don't want bad reviews. You don't want, like, let's say, and this is gonna make numbers easy because it's just stats. Let's say you're serving 10 people. At the time, you're brand new, you're serving 10 people, and let's say you have a 90% success rate so far. It's easy to measure that way. You've succeeded with 9 out of 10 people. Cool, awesome. What happens, like, if this guy comes through, and now all of a sudden, you added another person who's not urgent, and now you have 11 people, didn't do anything. He didn't even do the onboarding. He just sat there. That's part of your success rate. It's going to be like, it's going to bring it down, and it's going to be because you have somebody who's not urgent. It's not going to be not because you couldn't help them. And don't wipe it off the word, oh, well, it's because he wouldn't do anything. Don't blame the client. Yeah, is it ultimately probably the client's fault at that matter? Yeah, for sure. But don't blame the client. You brought him on board. So find the people who have needs, find the people who have urgency, bring them on board. Now, other ways you can dig in, and this really opens them up quite a bit because you're going to get to this point where you built so much rapport, you can ask this sort of question. What if you don't do anything? Like, what if this continues? Okay, what are you going to do? I'm going to do it on my own. Oh, but based on your current skill set, do you actually feel like you can successfully accomplish that? I mean, I could figure it out. Oh, okay. So, like, look, we've talked for like 30 minutes now, 20, 30 minutes, and you've tried things for the past year and a half. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. So do you really think you're gonna like, and there's no wrong or right answer. I'm trying to figure out where you exactly are. Like, do you really think you're gonna figure it out in the time frame you're wanting to, or is it gonna cost you a lot more? Get them thinking about that because these are questions people don't think about. And then walk through another process of it. For those that, if you're trying to kind of show yourself as a pulled back person, what I mean by that is you're not attached to the sale. Is it really that bad? Like, what happens if you don't do anything? Is it really that bad of a situation for you? And some people will be like, well, of course, I just told you, like, dude, it's terrible. Like, and then that's good though, because now you're getting them to be like, uh, So, anyways, clarify that stuff. Decision makers. Obviously, you want to know their process, but come in, hey, so who are the decision makers of this whole entire process? It's going to turn a lot of people off. So, just walk me through exactly, when you're looking at bringing on solutions like this. Let's say theoretically, you go through everything, you'll love it, it's 10 out of 10, you'll want to do it. How does that process work in your business on bringing something like this on? Oh, well, I got to talk to my partner and this and that, and walk it through my board, talk to my dog, pray with my rabbi, whatever the case may be. Just you're going to figure out what the whole case is. And it's good, and you need to do this so you're not shot at the end of like, oh, let me go talk to my partner. Because especially if they're actually in that process and they tell you, I need to talk to my partner, but hey, well, you told me in the beginning that this was all on you. So I'm a little confused. Do you really have to talk to your partner, or is there something else going on? Like, is there something that I can explain a little bit further? Or you can even dive in with another question. Like, okay, that's cool. You go talk to your partner. Is there anything I can clarify for you more specifically that you would have to talk to your partner about? Because I'm the source of the information here. I can actually walk you through a little bit better on what those questions are, if you don't mind. Like, we're here to consult. And basically, when you say that, like, we're here to consult, you're ultimately telling them, put your big boy pants on. We're here to talk about this. I'm not here to push you forward. I'm here to make sure you have the right decision for yourself. So doing something like that and making sure ahead of time you have the decision makers in line on how things are approached, you're not going to be caught with any surprises. And then also, just like if they're looking for other potential solutions, then with the decision maker, other decision makers that need to be on the call, because if they're going to tell them like, hey, I'm going to go and talk to him, I'll explain everything. He is part of the process, but I'll go talk to him for you. If he tells you something like that, or she tells you anything like that, the prospect, you need to be like, cool, appreciate that, but chances are you're not going to explain it the same way because they're going to have a different mindset. You're not going to know how to focus on what their concerns are. This is my specialty. If you like this at the end of the conversation and it's something you want to do, let's get on the same side of the table. I'll help you out. I'm not going to pressure or anything like that. What I want to do is find out more of what their concerns are. So think about it from this perspective and literally ask them this, like, you're married, right? Or you have kids or something. Think of a relevant topic, something like that, where somebody's coming to them and asking like, oh, I found this cool new bag I want to get, or I found this cool video game, or whatever it is. Think of those situations of what that person would be in that can correlate with you, and ask them that. Like, for most of us, it's like, hey, you're married, right? Yeah, we are. Okay, cool. So when was the last time that your wife came to you and said, oh, babe, I found this cool bag I want to get. It's just so pretty. I think it's like they probably call them purses instead. But anyways, and what's your first thought process? Think about it from that perspective. Your first thought process, oh, here we go again. All right, how much? Like, that's the first and only thought process, right? That's the same concept if they have business partners. There's business partners out there that are gung-ho and like, dude, I found something that could be cool. And what happens? Dude, last time we tried your stuff that you thought was cool, it took us $5,000 in the hole. It took us $20,000 in the hole. It did not do crap. Like, that's their thought process. That's the only thought process they're going to have. So it's your job to get on the call with their partners too as well and explain that to them. But hey, man, their concerns are going to be totally different. Like, what do they specialize in normally in their role with your company? Especially if it's like, let's say for us as an example, sales and marketing. If we're talking to a sales and marketing guy all day long, we resonate with them all day long. If their partner's in charge of the financial aspect or they're in charge of the tech aspects, they have totally different concerns. Good example for tech people that are in charge of the technical back end, talking to them, we want to focus more on the systems and how that's going to actually streamline their process and make life easier for them. Versus like the financial guy, like we want to talk about how that's going to save them money versus hiring individual team members that are going to cost $5, 6, 7, $8,000 a month per team members. They can get that with a whole shebang of like this big bulk package because we go and serve everybody with this Happy Meal McDonald combination that provides everything they need instead of having to buy everything individually and spending a ton of money. So that's pretty much how the concept you want to make sure you correlate with them. Explain to them, this is why we need to hop on a call with your partner, or this is why we need to hop on a call with your spouse or whoever is going to help with the process. If that decision is going to be dependent upon them, if they say no and you don't move forward, we all need to hop on a call, especially if you like this. So that's what you need to talk to them about. Hopefully that makes sense. So I know we went on a big tangent for that, but there's just so many different ways you can go about that whole partner base, and it will destroy the call if you don't handle it correctly, and you will never hear from them again. I actually found out a guy who was supposed to, because I handled this like that, at the end of the conversation, when he was like, I have to go talk to my partner, I was like, bro, I thought you said you don't have a partner. Oh, I have a partner. He's overseas, and it's actually my brother. He won't be back for a couple of weeks. Okay, cool. Well, what more specifically do you have to talk to your partner about that you have to clarify? Because I can definitely guide you through whatever those questions are. Oh, I have to just run it by him. I always, it's that respect thing I have for him and this and that. Okay, cool. So what if he says no? And I just kept digging and digging and digging. And he was like, well, if he says no, then I don't know. I just have to think about it. And that question really gets a lot of people because if they don't really have a partner like this guy, I found out 2 minutes later he does not even have a partner for real. It's like, do you even have a brother overseas? But the it caused them they were having to make up stories at this point. And when they're having to make up stories continuously, they don't like to. People don't like to continuously make up stories. It's too difficult for them. And so they'll eventually just back out and like, all right, yeah, so I don't have a partner. And so ended up, opening that up, found out what the real reason was, worked it and worked things out. He moved forward a couple of days later. So make sure you clarify that. Reframe. Once you've already done your deep assessment, you've done your surface level assessment, you found out their problem, you know that there's a budget, that there's a need, that there's urgency, there's everything that can make the call move forward. You want to reframe everything they told you with their own words. So based on what you've told me, you're going through XYZ, that's pretty much been stopping you from accomplishing ABC goal marks. Is that pretty much on point? Yeah, yeah. And you've tried XYZ or WTF, but the results were NGL. Like they're just not happening. So, which brings us to this point of the conversation. This is ultimately what caused you to seek out our help. You want help so you can streamline this and making sure you accomplish XYZ goals in the most efficient and effective manner you can possible instead of wasting your time or whatever they're trying to avoid, essentially. Is that pretty much on point or am I missing anything? Oh, yeah, it's pretty much on point. Or they'll tell you you forgot something or something like that. And you want to use their exact verbiage as much as possible when you're reframing because that's their words. And when you're using their words, like, dude, I said that. That's exactly what I said. Like, yes. And it resonates with them because that's the way they think. So make sure you use their words, you reframe. Once you find that out and you get the confirmation, move to treatment. And treatment's going to be the pitch. So when you move to the treatment, it's going to be based on what you told me. We can 100% help you, man. You're going through XYZ. And so with that being said, and this is also another reframe, like the solutions that we typically solve for our clients, it's with anywhere from 2 to 6 qualified appointments per day. And with the whole process coming through, you will grow. You will scale. That conviction, have that conviction. You will scale when you come on board with us. That problem will be eliminated. So now that you feel is the right time to move forward, what I want to do is walk you through exactly what we do and show you how this problem can be eliminated. Is that cool with you, or do you have any questions first before we move forward? No, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, cool. Awesome, man. So, real quick, I just gave you a high-level view of what we do. Now I'm going to dive deep into that. Now let me know when you can see my screen. And just walk them through. I'm going to finish this because I actually ended up separating reframe from treatment. But, what do you call it? So, make sure you do all that. That's going to give you everything laid out to the process you need. And again, this chart will be available. Just go check out and just look for examples on how things work. But that's a high-level view of how a chart discovery model will typically roll. You will spend 20, sometimes even 25 minutes on a call just for the discovery mode. So you need to be prepared for that. A good discovery is solid. People who have closed, the top percentage of closers out there, it's because they research. You'll find that out. There's the top 1% are doing a deep, deep, deep discovery. They spend about I think it was about, what was it? It was like 60 or 70% of their time on the actual discovery, maybe 10% on the pitch, and then like the remainder of the time just questioning back and forth at the end. That's it. So make sure you do that. Dive in deep. Get the process streamlined, because when you have a streamlined process, It makes things easier for you, more organized for you, and easier for the prospect to see how you can help them. Pretty much it. If you like the video, subscribe, follow, wherever you're watching this on. Do the whole shebang that supports me. I'd appreciate it. If you have any questions, DM me. More than happy to help. If you have specific situations, because this can go in all sorts of different directions, let me know. I'd be glad to help you with that whole process in itself. We'll talk soon.